When Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, ash and pumice buried much of the city and preserved an extraordinary world at ground level. Kitchens, taverns, courtyards, doorways, frescoes, streets where wagon wheels still left grooves in the stone. But look above those walls. There should be more. Upper floors, balconies, windows, roofs, towers, rooms where people slept, worked, entertained guests, and looked out across the Bay of Naples. Archaeologists call what's missing lost Pompeii. Much of that Pompeii has vanished, so the Pompeii you've seen in documentaries, photographs, and tours is only part of the city Romans actually knew. In many places, we've been walking through the bottoms of buildings that once rose 2, 3, or even more stories above us. And now, new technology is beginning to put that lost city back. Vesuvius began the destruction. Roofs collapsed. Upper walls fell. Timber burned, rotted, or disappeared. Then came nearly 2,000 years of weather, scavenging, looting, farming, rebuilding, and excavation. Early excavators were hunting the spectacular remains below: mosaics, frescoes, statues, intact rooms. Collapsed masonry, roof tiles, timber traces, and architectural debris could simply look like rubble standing in the way. In recovering one Pompeii, they sometimes erased clues to another. They were digging down, while some of the most interesting evidence was pointing up. At one wealthy Pompeian house, that evidence points towards something almost completely gone today: a tower rising roughly 40 feet above the property. Below was the practical side of the household: a cramped kitchen, storage rooms, servants, smoke, food, wine, and constant movement. But the house did not end there. Near the top of the tower was something very different: a prestigious upper room, possibly used for dining and entertaining. Large windows opened the space to the world outside. You recline on a dining couch as servants bring food and wine. Beyond the windows, Pompeii falls away toward the Bay of Naples. Roofs stacked behind roofs. Balconies and upper windows. Smoke rising from kitchens. People leaning over railings. Shops below. Mountains and water beyond. And somewhere on the horizon stood Vesuvius. That view changes Pompeii. Suddenly, the city is no longer the flat archaeological park we're familiar with. It becomes three-dimensional again. And the same building could contain very different worlds, stacked directly above one another. Below were cooking, storage, work, noise, heat, and movement. Higher floors offered distance from the street, more air and light, better views, and impressive rooms for entertaining guests. Height itself could become part of the owner's status. And this wasn't necessarily an isolated curiosity. Pompeii contained upper rooms, second stories, balconies, towers, rooftop spaces, and buildings that rose well above the walls we see today. So how can researchers reconstruct rooms that no longer exist? They combine laser scanning, drone photography, and close-range photogrammetry to build extraordinarily detailed three-dimensional models of the ruins. Millions of measurements preserve the geometry of surviving walls, staircases, beam sockets, roof lines, and architectural scars. The clues are everywhere. Staircases climb towards floors that no longer exist. Beam sockets mark where timber floors once rested. Architectural scars show where vanished walls joined surviving ones. Fragments of decoration can hint at what kinds of rooms occupied the empty space above. Roman paintings also show multi-story architecture that helps us understand the kind of vertical city Romans knew. Instead of asking only what is still there, researchers can ask what used to be above it. A staircase tells them where people went. A row of beam sockets helps locate a missing floor. A surviving wall constrains how the structure above it could have been built. Then the pieces can be tested against one another. Does this staircase reach that floor? Would that roof angle work? Could those beams span that distance? Where would the windows have been? Gradually, the outline of a vanished building begins to return. And that matters because the Pompeii preserved in our imagination has always been shaped by what happened to survive. We made the ground floors famous because the ground floors were there. We photographed the streets because the streets survived. We walked through courtyards because the courtyards could still be entered. But the Romans experienced all of it at once. They saw the streets and the floors above them. They saw balconies projecting over the road. They saw rooftops and upper windows. They looked down from dining rooms instead of always looking up from ruins. Their Pompeii had a skyline. Ours mostly doesn't. Digital reconstruction gives us a way to test what may once have occupied that missing space. The tower rises again. The windows return. High above Pompeii, an elite dining room once again looks out toward the Bay of Naples. For a moment, the archaeological ruins give way to something closer to the Pompeii of 79 AD. A noisy, crowded, vertical Roman city where life happened above your head as well as beside you. Every staircase that ends in the sky becomes a clue. Every row of beam holes becomes the shadow of a missing floor. Every wall that suddenly stops may once have continued into a room filled with people. Pompeii's missing upper city was never completely silent. It left traces everywhere. It was waiting for someone to look up. Follow for more lost history.